All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for my talk today, Finding Your Inner Strength. Today we are going to talk about how we actually do that, how we actually find our inner strength to be able to have the life that we really want to have, whether that's having a fear of public speaking, whether that is having a fear of going out for that promotion in case you get turned down, or whether it is not having the strength to be able to get over some sort of trauma that you have had in your life. So my name is Lisa Sabaniak, and I found my way into motivational speaking because I suffered 10 years of child abuse from the age of 2 to 12. And during that time, I was abused in all different facets, but the one that really stuck with me was the psychological abuse, where I was told every single day that I was worthless and useless. Nobody was ever going to love me. And that obviously had a real detrimental effect on my well-being. So when we left him, that was my stepfather that was doing that abuse. When we left him, when I was 12 years old, you would think, okay, you're out of that environment, very supportive mom, very supportive friends all around me and family. I would just go on and live a normal life. But that's not really how it works, especially when you have something like that at childhood, in those kind of formative years. So I spent a good chunk of my teen life, and even into my early 20s, just repeating that mantra that he had taught me, that I was worthless and useless and nobody was ever going to love me. Threw in some ugly in there as well. And so that meant that every time that I went to do something, whether it was something small or something large, I could easily talk myself out of it because I felt at the core I really didn't deserve to have anything good because, of course, I was useless and worthless and ugly and etc. And also, if things didn't go right, if things didn't go exactly according to plan, then the same thing. I could say, well, obviously, I can't even believe I'd be stupid enough to even try that because I am worthless and useless and ugly and nobody's ever going to love me. So this played really, really well for me all through my teens. And what I mean by that is it became my comfort zone. So anytime I came out of my comfort zone, I was able to put myself right back into it by doing this. And at the core, I was negative. I had low self-confidence. I felt helpless and completely out of control. And I didn't, at the core, believe that I deserved any better. As much as I wanted him to be wrong, and I kind of built my next kind of decade of life trying to prove him wrong, at the same time, I really did think that that is what I deserved. Until one day I woke up and realized that you can't have it both ways. You can't want to have something better, but think that you don't deserve to have something better at the root of it. And my big aha moment with this was I was probably about 23 years old. I had a boyfriend of about a year who decided to move off to another country. Said that he still loved me and still wanted us to be together, but didn't want me to join him. And my 23-year-old self that didn't think that I deserved any better thought, oh, but he loves me and he wants to stay together. My birthday came around after he had moved and I didn't hear from him. Found out a few days later that's because he was moving in with the woman he was cheating on me with. And for some reason that was the moment. That was the moment where I just decided I did not deserve that. I might be a lot of things and maybe haven't handled everything in my life perfectly, but I did not deserve to be treated like that. And it caused a ripple effect. That one thing caused me to really take a strong look at myself and try to figure out where was this coming from? Why, as a decent, kind, loving human being that was always striving to do everything the way I was supposed to do it, why was I treating other people with respect and then not treating myself with respect? Why did I think that other people deserved to have a better life and I didn't deserve to have that better life? And when I really started to look at it, I realized it's because I really, truly believed what I had been told for those 10 years. I really did think I was ugly. I really did think I was worthless. I really did think that nobody was ever going to love me and that I was useless. And for some reason at that moment, I just thought, sod that. I have already proven in my life that I'm not worthless. I've already made a difference to not only my own life, but to other people's lives. I'm a good human being that goes out of my way to try to make that difference. And so when I really started to look at who I was, it was undoubtable that I was not worthless. I had value. And so now I just needed to find a way to really start to recognize that value on a day-to-day basis. I needed to be able to find my strength within that allowed me to go on and be a happy person, to not just have survived child abuse, but to have survived it well, right? A completely different concept to me. So this started my journey of becoming my own hero. Up until this point, I was looking for somebody else to treat me better, somebody else to make all the pain go away by treating me the way that I was supposed to be treated, yet not really believing I deserved to be treated any differently. So now became my journey where I really did realize that I did actually deserve better, and that the only one that's able to show me what I deserve is me. The only person that's able to show me that I deserve to be loved and to give me that quality of love is me. Right? If I don't have that for myself, I can't possibly expect somebody else to love me in that way. I almost have to be able to show them what it is that I deserve. And if I really truly believe that I deserve better, well, then it's got to start with me. So in my journey to loving myself and learning where my true beauty was inside me, I started reading books. I started believing that I had survived something so traumatic and so devastating as a child, and then just as traumatic and devastating as a teenager, by my own hand, really, by continuing that mantra and letting myself continue that kind of psychological abuse, that I realized that the beauty was really inside me, and I needed to trust that I was actually going to be safe. I was going to be okay. That if I tried something and it didn't work, that wasn't going to be the end of the world. If I could survive all of this that I've been through, surely I can survive trying to make myself better. And so with that kind of new sense of strength, that I will be okay no matter what. It's still going to hurt perhaps if I fall, but I'm going to be able to pick myself up, dust myself off, and move on. And so with that kind of trust in myself, I just started listening to what I wanted. I wasn't really into reading books at the time, for example. It was the last thing I really wanted to do. I was in college. So I went into a bookstore one day just because I was in the mall, in the shopping center, and I decided I wanted to go in. And I found myself in the self-help section, and I found a book called The Life You're Born to Live. And I can't remember who wrote it, if it was Dan Miller or, but anyways, you can Google that book if you like in free time. But The Life You Were Born to Live was a real eye-opener book for me for some reason. And I think the reason was because, we don't talk about child abuse. We don't talk about trauma and how difficult it is to get over things. Even if you are getting over a failed relationship, they're there to comfort you, but they do expect after a period of time, and that's a very short period of time, that you are just going to move on. And sometimes you can't, and that is because more than likely that inner mantra, what you have going on, what you really feel about yourself, is stopping you. And other people that don't have that don't understand that. They don't know how to support that. And so you feel alone. You feel like you're the only one that's going through this. You feel like something's wrong with you, that you can't just move on like everybody else has. And with child abuse in particular, nobody talks about it. So you assume that you're the only one this has ever happened to. Even when you see the stats on the telly, even when you could hear about other horrible stories in the media, nobody's gone through. What that does is make you feel like you are alone, obviously. And so this book, The Life You Were Born to Live, was about zodiac signs. It was about taking your number of birth, so taking your whole date of the day that you were born, and breaking down exactly what your personality is like. And this rocked my world, because it didn't talk about abuse, it didn't talk about trauma, it didn't talk about my inner mantra I had going on, it didn't talk about any of that kind of thing. It talked about the type of person you are if you were born on a specific day, at a specific hour, in a specific year. And when I read my breakdown, it was exactly right. And I realized in that moment, oh my God, if some person on the other side of the world can write down who I am at the core without ever even meeting me, I am not unique. And this kind of blew my mind. If I'm not unique, that means that obviously we are all unique in different ways, but in this way, it really gave me comfort. It really made me feel like I'm not the only one that would be struggling like this. And that just gave me power, right? That knowledge gave me great power. And so I continued to go into the bookstore every time I was done a book, and I just let myself wander over to the self-help section, and I let myself pick out a book that I'd never heard of before that just seemed to be drawn to me. And when I did that, I would highlight anything in that book that really was life-altering for me. And every single book I picked up had at least one thing in it that was life-changing for me. So for me, books really, really helped. I did try to go to therapy. I did try to talk. And I found that really difficult. It didn't, for me, work for me. They did try to do a group session, which was really lovely because that did open my eyes to other people's issues. But it actually made me feel guilty because I felt there were people there that had gone through worse than I had, and I felt selfish for having such a struggle when mine seemed minuscule compared to theirs. So everybody deals with things differently. So I'm certainly not saying that therapy isn't the way to go. But for me, my therapy came from books. And my therapy came from finding something called Reiki, which is energy work, that also really taught me that I'm not alone in this world. I also started to give credit to myself for surviving the things that I had. So even if you haven't survived something like abuse or what you would consider a major trauma, we all have little traumas in our lives that really impact us and maybe send us in a different direction. That could be the loss of a relationship, the loss of a loved one, loss of friendships, actual deaths in our family, whatever that is. Everybody experiences trauma in their own way, and everybody has had to get over that. And so I started trying to really focus on crediting myself for what I had done instead of focusing on the things that I wish I had done differently, or how long it took me to get over this or that, or start the process, those types of things that I was harping on all along. I started becoming proud for my accomplishments. In being able to recognize the things that I was doing to survive, I was able to actually look at them as accomplishments and be quite proud of myself for being able to do some of the things that I did as a child. So before, I would look at things really, really with a negative eye, and I would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's how I dealt with that when I was 9. And now I look at that and think, I was only 9 dealing with one of the worst situations that you could find yourself in at only 9. And I am so proud of the fact that I actually did cope. I found a way to cope at that age. So I can spin it and look at it completely differently now. And in doing that, I found my strength. I found that place where I could actually go to say, Lisa, you have accomplished so much. You have survived so much. Even when it's something that you are not the most proud of, you are able to step back and take a look at it and decide that you would like to do better, and then strategize a way to do that. That takes courage. It takes strength. I've put myself out there in ways that I never thought that I would be able to put myself out there. Coming out 2 years ago nearly, I came out as being a survivor of child abuse. I never would have thought that I would have talked openly about something like that. And I have put my heart on my sleeve with that on YouTube and have actually gone through a lot of detail of my child abuse and what that did to me emotionally. And I never would have imagined that I would have the strength to do that before. But now I know that if that was to backfire at me in some way, shape, or form, I will be all right. But there is nothing that is going to bring me down after being able to do what I have done in life. Other things that really worked for me was yoga. Yoga really allowed a mind-body connection that I had lost. When you go through child abuse, especially sexual abuse or even physical abuse, you find that you have to disconnect. Your mind and your body become different things. And trying to find yoga was really the best way for me to be able to realign those two, a mind-body connection that is so important. Meditation also helped as well. So these are just a few things that helped for me, but each person, whether you are born on a certain day and you fit into that profile of the life you were born to live or not, you are unique in your own way, even if you've got things that are very, very similar to each other. You also are going to find your soft place to fall in a different place than everybody else. So these are just suggestions of things that worked for me. Some of you may have already tried things like therapy that have worked wonders for you where it didn't work for other people. Some of you are just not into self-help books and would never think of taking meditation. So there's always different things that you can try. But know that if you go outside your comfort zone and you try something, you will be okay if you don't like it. And what's the other alternative? You might actually like it and find something new. Right? So having that strength, that confidence in yourself is the difference. Inner strength means knowing that if something goes wrong, you will be okay, that you will survive it. You have survived other things before, and you will again. It opens the door to opportunity. It allows you to take risks that you would never take before. Take chances. Follow your gut and your heart. You don't have to follow just one. You can follow both of them, knowing that there is no such thing as wrong. There is no such thing as failure. When you fail at something, perhaps that's just the universe telling you this is not exactly the path that you were supposed to follow, that you need to be redirected into the path that you really are supposed to follow. And so you do pick yourself up and dust yourself off, reevaluate, look at what you could do differently, and you do it. And you do it because you have the strength within to know that you'll be okay if you were to fall again. So what I'd like to leave you with is the thought of who is your hero? Are you looking for someone else to make the difference in your life? Or do you have the trust and belief and strength in yourself to be your own hero, to make the changes in your own life that you deserve to make? Thank you so much for coming. I hope that you really enjoyed this. Thank you to those online. And if you would like to reach me further, I've included a link in my spiel there. Thank you so much.